brothers and sisters. It is good to see you today. It is. Hello, for those of you that are new with me today. I am Melissa, and I am a grieving mother. And I have been making videos and videos about my grief, about my experiences in my grief, and been dealing with the emotional impact of grief. And my last video that I had made was about numbness, about being numb. The one before that was bitterness. Today I'm going to talk about lost, feeling lost in my grief. I woke up this morning feeling lost. I feel like a shadow. I do. And I'm a fraction of my former self. The days go, that first year that we lost Noah and Sophia. First of all, I don't even know if I like to use the word lost because they were murdered. They were stolen from us. Like cruelly, traumatically, so unfair, murdered, stolen from us. Nobody likes to have anything stolen from them, let alone your own precious children that were ages 7 and 5 by their own brother, my oldest son. The dynamics of my grief are so unique that it is extremely difficult. I have actually, in the 4 years that I have been grieving, I have not met another parent personally who is in this exact same situation. There are a few books out there that, God bless some people, that my first year of grief actually handed me stories of some traumatic murders within their own families, which was not helpful for me at all that first year. So I just feel lost. I feel lost. And I'm betting that many of you do too. Each of our grief is so unique. The loss is our own. So I very much imagine that we're going to probably just feel very alone in our grief. That's just how that's going to be. The first year of my grief, everything, the days just went by. The days went by, I hardly noticed them. Especially in that first year and a half. Like, they just went by. Everything is a foggy blur. That's what it felt like to me. I mean, it is extremely hard for me to even recall a lot of detail that first year and a half. It really is. The days just went by. I hardly noticed that they went by, and everything was just like a foggy blur. Right now, I feel cut adrift and purposeless. I do. Even making these videos, even writing in my journals, trying to find a purpose for my pain, for my grief, give my grief a purpose. I still feel lost in that, It's just like sometimes I am not sure what is my purpose now. Noah and Sophia, and definitely even Malik. I mean, Malik was 19 years old when he murdered his brother and sister. 19. I knew Malik his whole life. Well, the 19 years of it. These 3 children, they are a huge part of my life, along with Elijah and Hannah and my husband. We have 5 children. All 5 of them were equally important, equally loved, and so valued in my life. So now, even 4 years later, I'm like, who am I now? Who am I now? I'm lost. We can feel lost when our child dies. Brothers and sisters, we do. That is natural and common. And sometimes it just bewilders my mind that I even have to make a video to tell people this is natural and common to feel lost when your child dies. You know, so much of our lives, they're wrapped up in them, you know, whether they were toddlers, children, or adults. And for those of us that are adult children who still have our parents alive, who have healthy or even dysfunctional, any kind of relationship with your parent, really, most of us still need them. I needed my mother, I feel like, more in my adult life than I did in my teenage life. As soon as I moved out of my mother's house, I was pretty much calling my mom every day. I did. I called her every single day. I needed advice, help, wisdom, something somewhere, or just a good friend to talk to, a listening ear. I mean, our parents become such a rock for us from the moment we're born till the day we die, I feel like. You know, especially if we're blessed with a mother the way I was blessed with such a loving mother, such a steadfast, dedicated mother. She is my best friend. I feel lost without my mother. My mother lived with us for 3.5 years before she died. She lived with us through the tragedy and horror of those murders of Noah and Sophia. Sometimes I feel like, well, whose daughter am I now? Whose mother am I now? I feel lost, purposeless. You know, and my mother was very sick. She was in heart failure. And caregiving her, taking care of her, you know? Yeah, it complicates things. You know, you kind of even miss caring for them, you know? Like I said, I knew Malik for 19 years. Sophia, 5, Noah, 7. Wow. Such a short time, yet really complete. Yet it felt like they had always been with us. You know what I'm saying? You know, I watched them grow, learn, mature. You know, I delighted in them as they moved from stage to stage. And if any of you are new parents, you know, you might be able to relate a little bit better what I'm talking about because it's more fresh in your day-to-day life, watching your child go from sitting up to crawling to walking to eating themselves, feeding themselves, you know, putting on their own clothes, then learning to read and write, ride bicycles, learn to swim. Oh, on and on and on and on. Learn to write in cursive. Then they start learning algebra and math and watching them grow in the church. That is beautiful, to watch your children mature in the Lord, to learn to love the Lord and want to participate in their church activities, you know, and maturing into their relationship with the Lord and maturing into their relationships even with the other members of your household. I mean, there's just so much. And they go from stage to stage, and as parents, we meet them at their joys, at their obstacles, and their pains with them. We do. We meet them right there in that. Our lives as parents, they become so intertwined, so connected, that it just can be difficult to separate ourselves from them. Whether in life or in death. And I've got both. Malik is still alive in prison. Noah and Sophia are dead. And so it's like both sides of this here, separated from both of the sets, both separated from Noah and Sophia, separated from Malik. And, but I've had to learn to separate myself from Malik, which could be a video for a whole nother day. As parents, especially as our children become young teenagers, big teenagers, then young adults, and then big adults, we seem to still, as parents, take on their sin, you know, their failures, their mistakes. We somehow blame ourselves for that. And it is difficult to separate ourselves from them. It is. And so I'm just acknowledging that. I actually don't have an answer for you. But I'm just acknowledging that it is. It's difficult to separate ourselves from our children. And because our lives are so intertwined, and especially emotionally, I think it is very difficult for mothers in particular to separate ourselves emotionally from our children. You know, parenting, guys, it's thrilling, scary, challenging, hard, fun, and exhausting. For sure, exhausting, But like the saying goes, nothing good comes without hard work, All hard work will pay off. And then also on a side note too, if our children or a child had like a disability or special challenges, those extra forms of caregiving, those get added into the mix of our grief as well. Sophia wore hearing aids. She had a hearing loss. And I actually really do miss those audiology appointments, changing the batteries in her hearing aids, picking out fun colors for her for the new molds to put in her ears. I miss the special meetings with the IEPs in the school for her, the special education department, due to her hearing loss. I miss those group of people. That's a great group of teachers there, boy, and those IEPs sometimes, Great staff. We got, and I miss those. I miss that. I really miss that. I got Sophia's hearing aids on my dresser right now, and I just keep them dust cleaned off. Dust starts to collect on them, but clean them off, and I miss that. I miss that. I miss the doctor appointments to take my mother to, the heart doctor appointments to take her to. I even miss going and picking up all her medicines from the pharmacy when I used to complain about it. Yeah, I feel lost. I feel lost, friends. So no matter who they are, however, we instinctively know how kids are vulnerable, very vulnerable. We know that instinctively, so we provide for them and we protect them. We nurture hopes and dreams for them, And then as they become older, we realize, wow, my hopes and dreams are not turning out to be the same as your hopes and dreams. Like, I didn't have a hope and dream for Malik to be a murderer, to murder his brother and sister. But Malik was sure planning on it, and he had been planning on it for many months before he actually did it. So, we nurture hopes and dreams for our children, and how devastating when they are the complete opposite of our hopes and dreams. So much of our lives revolve around our kids that whenever one of them dies, at whatever age, they leave a huge, gaping hole in my life, in our lives. Grievers, we just want the community to understand that. For those who haven't had a piece of their heart stolen and ripped out and shattered and left on the floor, there is a huge gaping hole in our existence. In our existence, there's this huge gaping hole. Flipping my pages, y'all. Wrote some stuff down like I do. But some of the questions I even ask myself, like, who am I now? Who am I now? Why are we here? What's next? These are important questions. No wonder I feel lost. No wonder I feel lost. I love Noah and Sophia so much. I love my mom so much. I love Malik so much. I feel lost without them. I do feel lost without them. Feeling lost, it just comes from this sense of total separation from your child. And I bet there's a lot of parents that can relate to that, even if your child is still alive, and they might be maybe a wayward child, or they have chosen to distance themselves from you. They have chosen to, not communicate with you. That is an awful loss too. That's an awful separation. And we can feel lost as parents when we are separated from them. That is so natural. And I am separated from 3 of my children. 2 of them, I can't even, they're in heaven. Part of grieving is keeping them alive in my heart. That is so much a part of my grieving, is keeping Noah and Sophia, my mother and my father, alive in my heart. They are a part of me. All 4 of those people, they are a part of me. They are who I am. They have changed me for the better. I'm a better person, a better mother, a better wife, better friend, for them. And staying connected to them somehow is important to me. It is important to me. It is. It is. So I go searching Jesus, boy, I go searching for God, because I'm looking for my children and I want to stay connected to them. I want to know where they are. I'm curious, what do they do during the day? What is their lives like? I want to stay connected to them. I want to stay connected to my mother and father. In one of my grief journals, they have like this little activity that kind of goes on in there. And one of them was a chapter about being lost and dealing with feeling lost. And one of the questions in there was really hard for me. And the question was, picture your child for a moment. What are some of the things you miss most? I swear, sometimes I just get so tired of that question. And it's in grief journals and grief books too. What are some of the things you missed most about your child? Write it down in a journal. Share it with somebody that you can trust. Well, for me, I miss every damn thing. Okay? I miss every single thing. The discipline and the joys. The cries and the laughter and everything in between. But I guess if I have to answer the question, if there is an answer to be required of that question, it would just be simply their presence. Them themselves is who I miss the most. And what I miss the most is them. And then everything that comes along with them. It's hard to think of these fun, delightful times that I enjoyed with my child. That was something else in the grief book that they ask you to kind of think about, talk about it out loud, write about it. That is starting to become a little bit easier for me. But those first 2 years, it was non-existent. It was extremely hard to settle in on a fun, delightful memory of my children. It just kept paining me for the loss. And then I would grow even bitter over the memory. I'd grow bitter over it. Bitter that this is all I've got now are memories. While everybody else still has their children, or everybody else still gets to go to the park, into school, and parent-teacher conferences, and go buy beautiful Christmas dresses and outfits and put them on and dress your children up very beautifully for church, and the excitement of buying their wish list and wrapping their gifts up and anticipating their squeals and laughter when they open them. I mean, all of that stuff, and so yeah, it's a circle that I just go around and around and around in. I do write down stories in my journals and memories. I've even written a letter to my own mother. I've even written a letter to her. I have composed, they call it like a list poem of all the things that you cherish and miss most about your children. I've done some of those in my journals too, probably just more for documentation. Can't really trust my brain these days. The grief brain. It's hard to even remember some things and that can be frustrating. Very much so. Very much so. So I guess maybe those might be some questions to maybe try to consider for yourself, even though those questions frustrated me and I didn't like them really, but maybe it might be helpful for somebody else, depending on where you are in your grief, I do think it is helpful if there is somebody, though, that we really truly can trust. We can probably ask them, are you going to be will you be willing to listen so I can talk about my child? And for most of us, and what I'm experiencing in my own experience is the more I share, the less lost I feel. So I'm just wondering, maybe that might be for others as well. The more we can share about our children, the less lost we will feel. And if we are given a space, a safe place to be able to talk about our child and not made to feel like, oh, she's talking about that child again, or we can sense the uncomfortableness, and then that somehow prevents us from wanting to speak. We need to talk. We need to share. We need to pray and write. Whatever we need to do, tell your story. And that's what I feel like I hear God saying to me. Tell your story, Melissa. Tell your story. I want to leave you with this, brothers and sisters. Take one moment, 1 second at a time. Don't expect too much of yourselves. And I have got to give myself that advice. I have got to follow that too. Don't expect too much of yourself too soon. This is a long, tough process. And maybe some other grievers in your circle or that might look like they're really getting their grieving process down. Great. They're doing it in some good, healthy ways. They are being very purposeful, driven in their grief. Praise God for that. Because that can encourage us. That can inspire us. That if the Lord is going to give them a space and a platform and a purpose for their pain, He'll do the same for me too, I believe. I believe that, and that we can journey together in this lonely road of grief. Yeah. And we all have different personalities, and the loss is so different that it just affects us so differently. It just really, truly does. And I just pray and hope that we can respect each other where we're in our spaces for that, and just love each other where we are right now, right then and there, in our grief, in our grieving process. Trusting that the Lord is taking excellent care of us, trusting that He has entered into our grief with us. And He knows we feel lost and purposeless. And we're wondering, who are we now? What do we do now? So I'm just clinging to the Lord, believing He's going to give me this purpose. Believing actually I'm living out my purpose right now. Right now. This is it. It doesn't get any grander than this. Sometimes I'm always looking further up on the horizon for some great big something. And all the while, it's just right here. Right here. Well, brothers and sisters, it was good to talk with you today. It was. It was good to share this with you and get this out, And I encourage you, please, if you want to share anything with me, reach out to me. My email is in the bio or the information thing or whatever it's called. Jeez. It's there. Comment, write me an email, I'm on Facebook and Instagram too, But I would love to be able to connect with other grievers. Hear your story. Share our stories together. Well, God bless you, brothers and sisters. And you be well today. And remember, self-care is extremely important in life, not just in grieving, especially so more in grieving, but in life too. Be well.